Recently, the highly anticipated Remnant 2 has been released, but players are already complaining about the game's overall performance, pointing out various issues that have come to their attention. Despite being powered by the newest engine, Unreal Engine 5, which introduces groundbreaking nanotechnology to elevate visual fidelity, the game surprisingly lacks support for the innovative Lumen technology at this point in time. With this intriguing mix of technological advancements, Dev says PC port designed with upscaling in mind. DLSS, FSR, and XeSS are a necessity to achieve smooth gameplay. Now, let's talk about the major issues. Our attention is on the graphic menu, which unfortunately doesn't offer a lot of options to tweak. And the worst side here is that some demanding settings like shadows and effect quality controls a lot of visual aspect at once, which is bad to do more customization. However, the initial impressions are rather modest. It seems the developers opted for a more conservative approach, choosing not to overwhelm players with an abundance of intricate options. Notably absent are the more intricate features such as ambient occlusion, screen space reflections, and global illumination, which many were hoping to tweaks. This initial glimpse invites us to question whether this simplicity in the graphics menu is a deliberate design choice or perhaps an outcome of development priorities. It's time to see each graphics setting and examine the performance and visual impacts, and try to make the game runs better without compromising the visual and the overall gameplay experience. Presented in this side-by-side, a comparative analysis of the game's performance across the various quality present, ranging from low to ultra, at native 1080p resolution. Here between low to medium we lose 4%, medium to high 6%, and from high to ultra we lose 19%. And if we compare low and ultra, we lose 28%. If you did not notice the frame time, it's supposed to be flat and smooth. And here we have some spikes and hitching. It's bad and far from perfect. Let's do upscaling to see if it fixed the problem. So here we used XeSS upscaler on ultra quality, and now you see that the frame time is almost flat and more stable than before. We also got 36% extra performance boost using upscaling without losing in visual quality. Indeed, as the dev said, the upscaler here is a must to get a smooth gameplay experience. Gunfire has released a new patch update targeting to improve game's GPU performance and also added a new setting, detailed shadows. As shown in the video, the new update has improved the performance significantly. The hitching and frame time spikes are fixed now. With the new patch, we have 26% of performance without using any type of upscaling. It is indeed a great boost compared to the launch version. At the right side with detailed shadows on, which makes the shadows more sharper, we lose 2% of performance, but it's negligible than detailed shadows off. In this side-by-side comparison during my gaming session exactly at Yashud and Core at Curry Nest section, I have noticed that when I play with detailed shadows on, it gave me more frames than keeping it on off. So it is more like dependent on the game area you're going to lose or gain performance. I suggest you to keep it on. We get 6 to 14% boost of performance unless you experience low frame rate. In that case, put it off. It also controls volumetric shadows like here in the subway. We compared the performance between detailed shadows on and off with ultra shadows quality. You can see on the right side there is no volumetric shadows when the setting is off. So going from on to off, it costs around 18%. For performance-wise, I recommend to turn it off. Now let's move on to the graphics settings, starting with shadow quality, one of the most demanding setting in the game. Here in this comparison, the shadow get less detailed when we put lower value. Going from low to medium cost 5%, to high cost 15%, and to ultra cost 20%. So performance side, I recommend using medium shadow. Let's talk about image quality and anti-aliasing solution. At the left side, we have TAA at native resolution. As we can see, it has some issue like ghosting effect while moving the camera. In the center we have FSR2. It offers more performance, but also it has temporal instability and noisy effect that decrease the image quality. And finally at the right hand we have XeSS, which is like FSR2, but offers much higher image quality at lower cost and less temporal aliasing issue. I recommend using XeSS quality, but if you have Nvidia GPU, then go for DLSS. Next we have post-processing setting, and this one controls ambient occlusion and post-processing effect like motion blur and depth of field. In this comparison, we're gonna see how each setting is affected going from low to ultra. Here we have ambient occlusion. With post-processing on low, it disabled the effect, going any higher it enable it. Performance side, going from low to medium, it costs 3%, to high 5%, and to ultra 8%. So I recommend using medium setting to keep ambient occlusion enabled, at lower cost of performance. Next we have motion blur. This setting is also controlled by post-processing. With a higher value, we get better motion while we move the camera. But when we use low setting, it disables the effect even if the setting is enabled in the graphic menu. I recommend to set it off if you don't like motion sickness like me. Here we have depth of field. The setting controls the quality, and it is more accurate when you put a higher value going from low to ultra. But it is only noticeable during cut scenes like here. It costs around 4% from low to medium and high. To ultra, it costs 8%. Using low setting, the depth of field is completely disabled. So I recommend using medium or high. Let's continue with foliage quality. This setting mainly adjusts the density of foliage like here in this comparison. The performance side, going from low to even ultra, costs only 3%. It's not demanding setting at all, so I recommend using high or ultra quality. Effects quality. Control 5 different effects at once. First, we have global illumination in some area like here. Using the ultra setting will activate the effect, otherwise using low or even high setting will disable the effect. The setting totally affects how good the water simulation looks in the game. You won't really notice a big change in how it looks if you go from medium to ultra, except for when it's on low, then the water quality is significantly downgraded. Next we have particle density, and if we use a higher option, it increases the amount of particles on screen. It also has an impact on the terrain quality and tessellation like here. When using a lower option, the tessellation feature can be disabled. Then lastly, screen space reflection. It is commonly used to create more subtle reflections, such as on wet floor surfaces or in puddles. Using low effects quality, disable SSR completely. Performance side, going from low to ultra, it costs around 6%, and it can drop further in some demanding area. So I recommend using medium effects quality to keep SSR enabled. If you need extra performance, then use low effects setting. Next we have view distance quality, which normally control level of detail for far objects. And this game is using nanite, let's make high polygons assets. It solves the traditional problem from the old engine that make distant object pop in. So this setting has no impact on the visual or the performance. I recommend using ultra for this setting. And finally, these are my recommended settings. Let's now quickly compare in the side-by-side optimized settings versus ultra quality preset using XeSS at 1080p resolution. In this area, we have a lot of enemies and effects on screen, and we get around 40% performance boost going from ultra to optimized settings. And also the frame time is much stable and smoother than ultra settings. And if you did notice, with optimized settings, the GPU didn't go any higher from 6 gigs of video memory. Unfortunately here, we can't control the texture quality, which mainly affect the VRAM. So it is highly recommended to have at least a GPU with 6 gigs model to play the game comfortably. In the conclusion, we would like to see devs in the future patches bringing separate options to allow better customization and further tweaking. And it is indeed the game was designed to be played with upscaling. Otherwise, it'll have some troubles running the game properly. For more graphics setting, tests, and optimization, you can also watch the next video. Thanks for your time.